Yo, what's up, everybody? I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon and The Blackest Heart, both books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today, we are going to be reviewing Master and Commander by Patrick O'Brian. The Adventures of Aubrey and Marturin, book number 1. Yep, we've got Jack Aubrey and his, shipmate and friend Marturin, who is kind of like a guy who studies botany and animals and science, whereas Aubrey is just a straight, ship captain. Let's get into it. So this came out in 1970, and there are 20 books in the series, and I've got them all right here. We'll pull them to the forefront. So one of the things that you can see is, if we put book 1 up here at the top where it belongs, I'll get here closer, and you can see that all of them look real nice on the shelf. We always review the presentation of the book first, just how they look on the shelf, especially if they're in a series, and the covers, because I love cover illustration and graphic design. So let's go through this first. First of all, these all look good on the shelf because they all match. They have matching spines. Not only that, but each book is given the number. Like you can see what number they are. A lot of series don't give us the number of the book, like 2, 3, 4, 5. You get what I'm saying. They put the number of the book on the spine, which is ingenious. Genius. That way you can tell which book you got. Not only that, but let's take a look at these covers. These covers, they all match too. So you know that all of the covers, all these books are in the same series. If I can do this here. I would just pull 3 of them out, but they're all going to look the same. They've all got the same kind of design on the front. It works good. Works good. Not only that, but every single cover of all 20 covers are painted by the same maritime artist named Geoff Hunt. And he does just a great job of capturing the sea and the ships. And he's researched all of this. Just the whole thing from top to bottom. Fucking dope. Dope. That's the outside of the book. What is the inside of the book? Well, I'm going to read the brief paragraph on the back, and then I'm going to give you my thoughts and feelings, okay? So, this, the first in the splendid series of Jack Aubrey novels, establishes the friendship between Captain Aubrey and Stephen Maturin, the ship's surgeon and intelligence agent, and it's set against the thrilling backdrop of the Napoleonic Wars. Details of life aboard a man-of-war in Nielsen's Navy are faultlessly rendered. That I can attest to, and we're going to get into that a little bit. The conversational idiom of the officers in the wardroom and the men in the lower deck, the food, the floggings, the mysteries of the wind and the rigging, and the roar of the broadside as the great ships close in battle. Yes, that is the strength of this series. Patrick O'Brian has researched every last nook and cranny of sailing, of ships, of every kind of ship, what they carry, what they do, how many guns are on a frigate, how many guns are on a sloop, how many masts are on different types of ships and sails, and every single thing about sailing in the Napoleonic era is in this. Plus, it's written as if they're kind of Jane Austen. I always considered this like pirate books mixed with Jane Austen sort of drama and mystery. And I stand by that, because the writing, I don't know how to say this, but and I mean it as a compliment. Patrick O'Brian's writing really actually reminds me a lot of Jane Austen's writing. And he might have been studying some of those people like Jane Austen and the Bronte sisters, and maybe Thomas Hardy, and some of these people that wrote in the 1800s and the early 1800s to sort of get the language correct on how people spoke back in that era, because all 20 of these novels are just steeped heavily in the flavor of the Napoleonic era when these battleships were sailing across the Mediterranean and everywhere else. They sailed up the coast of Spain and France and down into the Caribbean and around the Cape Horn to Africa and India and everywhere else that they went. And this guy just nails it. And it starts off, you know you're in good hands because it starts off in a place called Minorca. This book started, I was like, well, I've read all these books before. I'm rereading them for the channel. I read them ages and ages ago. I don't remember much about any of them. And it starts off in Minorca, which I didn't know where that was. I've heard of it. So I Googled it, and it's this beautiful island off the coast of Spain. And it's like, I want to go there now. It's just beautiful. And it starts off with Captain Aubrey, who is sort of a stocky built, sort of kind of like me, kind of like he's kind of like a fucker like I am, you know? You reach into the bag and grab the wallet, says, bad motherfucker. That's who you're going to get. You're either going to get me or Captain Aubrey, right? And meanwhile, and he's just he's not very self-aware. Get a little bit like me. And he's sort of, and it starts out, they're in this nice sort of palace ballroom in Minorca, and they're listening to a symphony, and he's listening to it, and he's just kind of not really realizing that he's bugging the shit out of everybody else in the symphony, but he's kind of like humming along. And everybody's like, shut the fuck up, dude. Especially the guy sitting right next to him, who's this skinny dude, a dark-haired dude, skinny, just in a fight, Aubrey would kick his ass. But that we find out later is who is to be his best friend, Stephen Maturin. And Stephen Maturin is like, dude, get the fuck up already. I'm trying to listen to the music. And Aubrey's just like, well, I don't give a shit what you say. So they almost get into a fight right there in the midst of the symphony. And it's just a great introduction of both characters. I loved every second of reading it. And again, it was almost as if Jane Austen was writing the scene. And it's just clever and witty and funny and great, and a great introduction, because they kind of go their separate ways that night, sort of irritated with each other. But then they get back together the next day. They realize they have to work together, and they become lifelong friends through 20 books of fantastic seafaring adventure. And so Aubrey is the captain of a ship called the Sophia. It's a 2-mast, very bulky and slow warship. It's called a 14-gun sloop. When Maturin first sees it, it's kind of like that moment when Luke first sees the Millennium Falcon. He's like, you're sailing the seas on that? And he's like, it ain't the fastest ship in the world, but, it kicks some ass, and so then again, we've got this interplay here, and then there's just then they go off on their seafaring adventure. We're not going to get into the plot of that much, but there's just some beautiful scenes on the ocean, especially when, and I've been on the HMS Victory in Portsmouth, England. Now, the HMS Victory in the Portsmouth of England is the big battleship where Lord Nelson won the Battle of Trafalgar with. When there was like hundreds of ships and most of them sank, but Lord Nelson and the HMS Victory won the Battle of Trafalgar. And I've been on that ship because it still exists, and it's in the harbor at Portsmouth, England. And as soon as you step onto that ship, the overwhelming scent of heavy timber hits you like a wave. You just feel like you are in the middle of a freshly cut forest right when you walk onto one of those ships. And this guy, Patrick O'Brien, nails every sense and sensory thing about being on the ship. And there's just some beautiful scenes where Aubrey, especially one where he climbs up the mast, up to the crow's nest area, and he's like 80 feet above. Because these masts, some of them go 150 feet, but he's on a little bit shorter and slower of a ship, so his only goes up to 80 feet. But he's up there looking down at his ship, 80 feet below. That's a long way. That's like 8 stories to 10 stories up. And he's just looking down at his ship below and at the vast horizon of the sea, and you want to be there with him. You just want to be there with him. That's all I'm going to say about this book. It is a great, great start to one of the great, great series of all time, one of the great historical series of all time. I give it a good 9.5 out of 10. I just think it's dynamite, and I can't wait to reread the rest of the series and leave reviews because it's just super cool.